The area around the Acropolis in Athens has been continuously inhabited for a very long time. Archaeological evidence suggests that the earliest inhabitants settled there during the Neolithic period, which dates back to before 3000 BC, possibly as early as 4000. The natural defensibility of the hill and the presence of nearby springs made it attractive locations for early humans. The early communities were small and kingship-based. Agriculture and livestock grazing was possible because of the underground streams in the surrounding plains. Its defensibility of the rock was a major factor. Here you can see these large limestone boulders which were unworked marble limestone, and they were placed. They were so heavy, even you really require cyclops to put them there. The walls surrounded the Acropolis and it was massive how it was built, and here's an aerial view of what it was like. The Mycenaean palace complex served multiple vital functions: residence of the king, administrative hub, storehouse and treasury, religious centre and common area. The Mycenaean Acropolis was a testament to their advanced engineering and military planning. Archaeological evidence, particularly from linear bead tablets, confirms the existence of a highly organised palace-centred society led by a ruler known as the Wanax. The majestic Mycenaean palace, 2 stories high, on the Acropolis, with a flat roof and large open doors, drawings, tall columns, and inside there are 6 large functional areas, outside seats and bathing for socialising. In essence, from its humble beginnings as a Paleolithic settlement, the Acropolis evolved into a fortified Mycenaean citadel and then transitioned into a major religious centre dedicated to Athena, setting the stage for its magnificent transformation during the classical period. This was called the Age of Pericles, or the Golden Age of Athens. The Persian invasion of 480 to 479 BCE under King Xerxes, who burnt and sacked Athens, and also burnt and destroyed much of the Acropolis, including the pre-existent temples like the older Parthenon. This event was a major turning point as it directly led to the ambitious rebuilding program by Pericles that resulted in the magnificent structures we associate with the Acropolis today, such as the Parthenon, Erechtheion, and the Propylaea. The Venetian bombardment of 1687 CE during the Mauryan War, the Ottoman Turks used the Parthenon as a gunpowder magazine. A Venetian powder shell hit the Parthenon, causing a massive explosion that severely damaged the building, blowing out much of its central structure and roof. This is responsible for much of the ruined state we see today. The Acropolis suffered further damage during the 450 years of Turkish occupation, but also during the Greek War of Independence of the 1820s. This image here shows the Propylaea, and to the side of it, Pinacothea, and in front, the Temple of Nike, and the back there is the Parthenon, and across from that is the Erechtheion. The Propylaea, which means a gateway. This monumental gateway served as a ceremonial entrance to the sacred precinct of the Acropolis. It was designed to impress visitors with its grand scale and intricate architecture, controlling access to the holy ground beyond. It combined both Doric and Ionic architectural styles and was wide enough to allow chariots to pass through. One of its wings, the Pinacothea, is believed to house the collection of paintings. On the wings to the majestic entrance to the Propylaea was a building called the Pinacotheca. Pinaka in Greek means painting. It is believed to have housed the collection of paintings. Ancient sources such as Pausanias referred to the paintings that adorned this space, depicting mythological and historical subjects. It is also believed that it might have served as a reception hall or resting area for important guests. The Temple of Athena Nike, or really it's Nike because Nike means victory. This temple was dedicated to Athena in her aspect as the goddess of victory. The temple was adorned with a continuous frieze running around its upper exterior walls. These friezes depicted various scenes. The east frieze, above the entrance, typically showed an assembly of gods, including Athena, Zeus, and Poseidon. The north and south friezes depicted battles between the Greeks and Persians, specifically commemorating Athenian victories like the Battle of Plataea and Marathon. The west frieze often showed battles between Greeks and other Greeks, perhaps reflecting the Peloponnesian Wars. The Temple of Nike, the most famous item inside the temple's central chamber, the cella, was the cult statue of Athena Nike. This statue was famously wingless, known as Athena Apteros Nike, or wingless victory. The ancient Greeks believed this was to ensure that without wings, victory would never leave Athens. The 2nd century AD ancient Greek traveller Pausanias described this wooden statue as holding a helmet in one hand and a pomegranate in the other, possibly symbolizing fertility. It is important to distinguish from the cult wooden statue found inside the temple from the famous relief structures of Nike found on the temple's parapet. These friezes on a small wall of the roof that has a marble structure of Nike adjusting her sandal in what is known as the wet drapery style. This style reveals the form of the body beneath the clothing. Here are some examples of what is meant of the wet drapery style. While the majority of the original reliefs, including the wet drapery style, marble sculpture frieze of Nike adjusting her sandal, and others are now carefully preserved and displayed in the Acropolis Museum, and still many others are held in the British Museum in London. Greece has made numerous requests for them to be returned, to no avail. These Greek treasures of antiquity were taken by Thomas Bruce, the 7th Earl of Elgin in the early 19th century, also referred to as the Elgin marbles. Elgin claimed he was concerned about the sculpture's deterioration and potential destruction due to neglect, exposure to the elements, and damage from conflict and looting. Elgin began removing marble structures from the Parthenon and other buildings on the Acropolis in 1801. This process continued with various shipments until 1812. His initial intent may have been to establish a private museum or use them to decorate his estate. He later sold them to the British government in 1816. Elgin stated he gained permission from the Ottoman authorities. However, many scholars and the Greek government arguing that he did not get permission for such extensive removal of sculptures still attached to the building. The Temple of Erechtheion was named after Erechtheus, a mythological early king of Athens. It was also referred to as the Temple of Athena Polias, Athena of the city, after the goddess Athena, daughter of Zeus. She offered the olive tree to the Athenians, but also Poseidon, god of the sea, offered seawater to the Athenians. He was the older brother of Zeus. So it was dedicated to both Athena Polias and Poseidon Erechtheus. Offerings to King Erechtheus involved animal sacrifices, reflecting his status as a revered hero king of Athens. Literary sources, including Homer's Iliad explicitly mention that Athenian youths would present Erechtheus with bulls and rams. The Erechthion's unique design accommodated and incorporated various shrines within one structure. On the outside, we see the famous porch of the Caryatids. 6 maiden figures serve as supporting columns and also olive trees around the area. The Parthenon was the most dominant structure on the Acropolis. It was primarily a temple dedicated to Athena Parthenons, the virgin goddess of wisdom, warfare, and patron deity of Athens. It housed a colossal gold ivory statue of Athena, sculptured by Phidias. While serving as a religious shrine, it also functioned as a treasury, showcasing Athenian wealth and power. Here we see 17 columns on the side which go across 69.5 meters, while the front view has a 30-meter length with 8 columns. The height is 10.4 meters. The Parthenon is considered the pinnacle of classical Greek architecture. Its exterior design masterfully blends Doric and subtle Ionic elements, characterized by remarkable optical refinements that make the building appear perfectly straight and harmonious to the human eye, despite numerous subtle curvatures and inclinations. The Stylobite, the entire structure rests on a 3-stepped platform known as the Stylobite. This platform is not perfectly flat, it is slightly curved upwards, a parabolic curve, rising approximately 10 centimeters at the center on the long sides. It was designed to prevent the building from appearing to sag in the middle and to help shed water. The exterior columns are of the Doric order, known for their sturdy, fluted shafts, simple capitals without bases, and lack of decorative bases. Each column has 20 flutes, concave vertical grooves. A crucial optical refinement is the entasis of the columns. They are not perfectly straight, but exhibit a slight, almost imperceptible bulge about 4 centimeters in their middle. This counteracts the optical illusion that perfectly straight columns would appear to waste or concave in the center when viewed from a distance. The columns also lean slightly inward, approximately 7 centimeters at the top, so much that if extended, they would meet almost a mile above the Parthenon. This further contributes to the impression of stability and perfect verticality. The corner columns are slightly thicker than the others. This is another optical correction, as the columns seen against the bright sky at the corners might otherwise appear thinner and further apart. Above the columns rests the entablature, a horizontal structure consisting of three main parts. The architrave, the lowest part, a plain band of stone directly above the column capitals. The frieze, above the architrave, the Doric frieze is composed of alternating triglyphs, that's vertically grooved blocks, and metopes, square panels. The metopes were originally adorned with high-relief sculptures depicting mythological battles. Gigantomachy, the gods versus the giants on the east, Amazonomachy, the Greeks versus Amazons on the west, and Centuromachy, the Lapiths versus the Centaurs on the south, and scenes of the Trojan Wars on the north, though most of them have been lost. These sculptures were often painted with vivid colours. The cornice, the part above the entablature, is called the cornice, which forms the base of the pediment, the triangular space. These friezes depict the Trojan War and were usually on the northern wall. They have been lost, but they have been reconstructed to show the battles and what would have been there on the Acropolis on the northern side. Here we have Achilles, the greatest soldier the Greece ever had, who killed the best Trojan soldier and was dragging him around so all to see of his invincibility and greatness. The Parthenon's roof was a marvel of ancient Greek engineering and aesthetics, combining functionality with intricate design. At its corners there were sculptures of the lion head pseudo-spouts. Here are the key details of its construction. The wooden framework. While the visible parts of the roof were marble, the underlying support structure was a robust wooden framework of beams and rafters. This framework bore the weight of the heavy marble tiles and formed the gable pitched roof shape. The Parthenon's roof was covered with large overlapping marble tiles known as imbrices and tugili. This was a sophisticated and highly effective way to create a waterproof roof. The imbrices, these were semicircular, cylindrical or curved tiles like half pipes. They were placed over the joints between the tugili, effectively covering the seams and preventing water from seeping through. This created a continuous watertight surface. The tugili, these were flat, oblong tiles, typically with raised edges on their long sides. They were laid side by side in rows, slightly overlapping the row below, forming channels of water to flow. The Parthenon was constructed almost entirely of Pentelic marbles quarried from Mount Pendelic. This is how the Acropolis would appear to the human eye without these optical corrections. As discussed, the building is famous for its sophisticated optical illusions like the curved stilobite, the entasis of the columns, inward-leaning columns, and varying column spacing designed to make the structure appear perfectly straight and harmonious to the human eye, correcting for natural optical illusions. These subtle refinements were a testament to the architect's profound understanding of mathematics, geometry, and human perception. Ictinas and Kallikratis, the principal architects credited with the Parthenon's groundbreaking design. Phidias, the renowned sculptor who served as the overall supervisor of the artistic program, including the design and execution of the temple's magnificent sculptures and the colossal gold ivory statue of Athena Parthenons that stood inside. Pericles, the prominent Athenian statesman who spearheaded this massive civic building project. The construction of the Parthenon during the era of Pericles was a monumental undertaking, symbolizing Athenian power, wealth, and artistic sophistication after their victory over the Persians. The Parthenon also contained the treasury from the Delian League. It was a centerpiece of an ambitious building project on the Acropolis. The construction of the Parthenon began in 447 BC, and the main structure was largely completed by 438 BC. Work on the elaborate sculptural decoration, however, continued until 432 BC, just before the outbreak of the Peloponnesian War. The entire project was remarkably fast for its time, about 15 to 16 years. While the most famous statue inside the Parthenonos was the colossal gold and ivory statue of Athena Parthenonos by Phidias, there was indeed a very large and significant statue outside the Parthenon on the Acropolis called the Athena Protomachos. As you entered the Acropolis through the impressive gateway called the Propylaea, it was so large that even chariots came through. And then finally to the end, there was the colossal bronze statue of Athena Promachos, towering 9 meters high, created by the renowned sculptor Phidias. Promachos means fighting in the front line. The statue depicted Athena as a warrior goddess, armed with a helmet and a spear. It was erected around 450 BC, during the age of Pericles, to commemorate the Athenian victory in the Persian Wars. Ancient accounts state that the glint of her spear and helmet could be seen from Cape Sunio, many kilometers away. Athena Promachos stood on the Acropolis for about 1,000 years. It was eventually transported to Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, in the 5th century AD, and was tragically destroyed by a crowd during the sacking of Constantinople in 1204 AD. The Acropolis stands as an unparalleled testament to the brilliance of ancient Greek civilization, inextricably linked to the patronage of Athena and the extraordinary talents of its creators. Under the visionary leadership of Pericles, this sacred rock was transformed into an architectural and artistic marvel. It was the master sculptor Phidias who oversaw this grand artistic program, creating the monumental gold ivory statue of Athena Parthenos within the Parthenon, and profoundly influencing all its structural decoration. Alongside Phidias, the brilliant architects such as Iktinos and Kallikratis for the Parthenon and Mnesicles for the Propylaea, they meticulously designed and engineered these structures, achieving an unprecedented harmony of form, proportion, and extraordinary optical refinements. Their collective genius not only produced timeless masterpieces, but also enshrined the democratic ideals, philosophical thought, and deep reverence for their patron goddess that defined Athens' golden age, leaving an indelible mark on human culture and architectural history.